Hey everyone, now that we have explored the capabilities of both Apple Classroom and JAMF Teacher, it is now time to take a deep dive into some application of using both of these tools together in the classroom. We know that these tools together can enhance not only classroom management strategies, but they can increase productivity and give us greater control over that entire class set of iPads. However, we want to make sure that we're using these tools together and we can maintain some flexibility and have a lot of instructional strategies that apply in our classrooms. In this video, you're going to see firsthand experience from both the teacher and student views, where we're going to look at three key areas. One, enabling a lesson in JAMF Teacher for a whole class, and you'll be able to monitor in Apple Classroom. We're going to create some groups in Apple Classroom and be able to monitor as well. And then we're going to combine the power of JAMF Teacher again in Apple Classroom with some group-based learning activities where we use JAMF lessons and again monitor with Apple Classroom. So hopefully, as we've done in the past, you'll be able to see the videos here. Teacher view will be on the left, student view on the right, and we're going to start off with that enabling of a lesson here in JAMF Teacher. So the first thing I'm going to do on my teacher iPad is I'm going to come down here to the JAMF Teacher app. And on the student side over here, you really won't notice anything until I put something into place. So I'm going to open up my test class. You'll see my list of students. Again, yours will populate with more students than what I have in here. And I want this lesson to go to the entire class. So I've already made this as a template. I'm going to come up here to the lesson stack, tap on it. I'm going to set my timer, and I'm going to use the iReady lesson. So for this case, I'm going to set it for 35 minutes, and then I tap iReady, and then I'm going to tap Apply up here at the top. Once it takes effect, you'll see on the student iPad, the other apps will drop off. And the only thing I have left on the iPad are the apps that I have selected for the lesson. Now, as a teacher, I would be sitting here wondering, how do I see what is happening on the student screens? So I can flip over on my teacher iPad to Apple Classroom and go into my matching class, same one, and then I will get a student view of the student screen. So it may come in smaller like this, but you can pinch to zoom with 2 fingers on your iPad to get a better view of what the students see. And if you have more than one student in your class, you will see all 25 or however many students you have at the same time, and you can also zoom in on them. So on the student side of things, if I wanted to go into Clever, and you'll see that the teacher side will change as I'm accessing things on the student iPad. So as I sign into Clever and make my way to iReady, here I am on a student Clever page. I can then go into iReady and I will get into the lesson. So now I can see on the teacher side what those students are doing in this particular activity. So it gives me that control. I can see everybody. If I do have a student that's getting off task or I need to call attention to a student, I can lock the iPad right from here by using the lock feature. Now, let's say that I have a student that is off task, and let's say that I want to, I have a student that tries to go into a different app that is not part of the lesson. So when I go into something like this, you can see I'm trying to get off of the page that I'm supposed to be in, but since I'm only allowed to 3 websites, it keeps routing me back to iReady. So what I'm trying to do now is I'm trying to sign into Clever again. Here's the login page, and I'm going to pick a different application in here as well, just so you can see what it will do on the teacher end. So as you're monitoring the entire class, you'll be able to know pretty quickly who is not where they're supposed to be. So give me a second here while I get signed back in. I'm using my son's account here for this because he is a student in our district. So when I do get signed in, I get to the Clever page. Now, by the parameters of the lesson in JAMF, I only allowed iReady, Clever, and Safari. So if I'm a student that likes to go to code.org, if I click on this, it should not let me to code.org. And there you can see it is restricted. So now on the teacher side, I can see that Mason here is not where he's supposed to be. I can immediately direct him back to where it needs to be, or I could lock his iPad, and redirect him back to that iReady page. So in that case, I can just tap Clever at the top. It'll probably ask me to sign back in again because, I'm not going to take the time for this lesson, but it would route me back into iReady, and then I can pick up right where I left off. It'll ask me to choose, and now I'm back in iReady. So that is a very quick example of how you can use a lesson in JAMF and monitor it in Apple Classroom. So let's say we have come to the end of our time in that lesson. Now I want to end the class. So I'm going to go back over to the JAMF Teacher app, and I'm going to come up to those three dots, just like we talked in the other video, and I'm going to clear those restrictions, and I'm going to clear limitations. Now, once the iPad has regained control in the student's hands, the student can press the home button, their apps have returned, and everything is back to normal. And then on the teacher side, I'm going to actually go up to the top, and very importantly here, I'm going to tap Leave Class, and I want to make sure I hit Clear All Restrictions and Leave. That way, if a student does go to period 2 or the next block, they do not have to worry about any restrictions being in place. And that's just something you have to build into your daily classroom routine. So the second thing we're going to look at in this video is creating a group in Apple Classroom. We know the functionality of Apple Classroom, what it can do, and I have all of those tools and features across the top. If I want to tap on this student's screen, here's a closer look at all of those items that I can use with this particular student. So let's say I want to do some differentiation. I want to assign some groupings for different things for students to do. So you'll see over here on the left-hand side, I have two different groups. I have a reading group and a group 2. I can come down to the bottom to create a new group. I could just title this group 3 for our purposes here today. Now, reading here, I already put one student in. So now the next screen here, you'll notice for group 3, it's asking me to select students. So I can just simply tap on the circle underneath the iPad screen. I can pick as many as I want, and then I can press done up here in the corner. So let's say if I wanted to add this student to group 3, now it shows up here on the left-hand side. So let's say I want to use the reading group, and I want them to be able to do some things on their iPad, okay? So what I can do from Apple Classroom is I could go here to the stack at the top, and you'll notice that I can pick some apps. Let's say if I want this group to work only in freeform. So I can come down to the bottom and select Lock In After Opening. When I tap Freeform, it's going to send the student iPad over to Freeform, and that's the only app that they are going to be allowed into once the connection it gets established, right? So now I'm in Freeform on the student iPad, and I can't go anywhere else. I can push the home button. Everything I do does not allow me to leave Freeform. So I know on the monitoring side, what does that look like? Well, I can see that that student is right here is locked into Freeform, and they can't go anywhere else. So if they try to figure out how to get out of it, and I can quickly look and go through my groups and see that their assigned specific materials are there. So let's say if group 3, or I'll use group 2 for this one. I don't have any students in there, but that's okay. Group 3 then, I want to send them to a website. And this is going to be different work than what we would use in group 1. So let's say that group 3 is going to be working in Safari. You will see that if I have some favorites, if I have favorites bookmarked in my Safari address bar, I can very quickly tap on it, and then I could find one. Let's say this, for our purposes here, this accessibility page, I could lock them in that and then open up that website. So you'll notice now the iPad will flip over back to Safari, and it'll open up that Apple accessibility page. And it does give me some apps because I'm kind of in two groups here. So they're kind of running at the same time. So now I do have a little bit more leeway, but if this was two groups with multiple students, you could flip very easily between the two of them. So you can see I'm locked into Safari, and I showed you guys how to do that to an app as well. So that's how we can use Apple Classroom for quick routing of things, whether we want to lock students in apps or you want to send them to a website. So now we're going to say that this group time is over. We're going to end the class. So in this case, I'm going to go up to the three dots. And I really didn't use JAMF Teacher for this per se. We're going to use that in the next part of this video. But this was just using Apple Classroom to create some differentiated groups. So I'm going to hit the three dots, and I'm going to press End Class. So once I end the class, you'll see I get a nice class summary report. It gives me some app usage. It shows all of the apps that I've been in. It shows the students that all were joined. If I tap on the student, you will see that I get a kind of a chart of time that I was spent in each app. So you can see I spent 3 minutes in Safari, 8 seconds in Clever. So you can really use this to help with parent communication if you have a student that is not on task, or is not where they should be. The only downside to this is this report does not save. So I always tell people to try to grab a screenshot of it at the end of a class period. So I'm just going to press done for now. And we're out of Apple Classroom for that class. So now this student again has full function of their iPad and they're back to their home screen. So for the third and final part of this video, we're going to take JAMF Teacher and create a group in that environment. We're going to use Apple Classroom to monitor it again. So we can kind of do the same thing, but the JAMF environment gives you more restrictions and more capability to do some things on the iPad. So I'm going to open up JAMF Teacher again. This time though, however, I want to go to Lesson Templates, and I'm going to create my template for my group work. So let's say in group 1, I would like the student to have some allowed apps, right, on the iPad. So I have a website here that they're allowed to go to, and I want these apps. Maybe they're going to do some freeform, work in Clips, Google Slides, and Safari, all right? If I wanted to, I could set a restriction maybe to take the camera away, but I'm not going to worry about that for this part. So now, I don't want to start this just yet, because if I start it now, it's going to go to all the students. What I want to do is go back in JAMF to the Classes tab. So now I'm going to go back and I'm going to pick my class. And this time I'm going to pick on the student name, the first student that I want to put in this group. So I tap on the name, and now I'm going to go up to the stack, which is all my lesson templates. They're going to load at the bottom. I'm going to set this, and maybe I want this student to work for, they're going to be in their group for 15 minutes. And then I'm going to select, this is my lesson for group 1. I can build those templates out for a variety of things. I could have multiple groups, and this would be great if I'm conferencing with a group of students at a front table and I know that 3 groups in the back. This is how I can push out things to them. You can send files, you can do all kinds of things with this once you get comfortable with the functionality. So I'm going to press group 1 to select it, and I'm going to press apply. Now, if I had more students in this class, I would just simply go down to the next student and repeat that same process. So if you have 5 kids in the group, you're going to do this for five times. It's a little cumbersome, but we can also add groups here as well. You can go into new group and again, title it, and then you can select the students for that group. And then it becomes the same functionality as Apple Classroom. I just don't have the number of students in this sample class. But you do have that functionality as well. And it just takes a few seconds to set that up. So you'll see on the student iPad here, I only have Freeform and Safari. So now that's the only things I can go into. If I want to monitor this while they're working, or I could be up in the front and have my iPad set up and the rest of my students that I'm conferencing with, I can see their screens. I'm just going to flip over to Apple Classroom, go into my sample class again. And then once the iPad connects, I'll see the screens. Again, I can zoom in, I can monitor what students are doing. I can lock their iPads if I have to. But again, that's not something I really want to do because I can monitor the progress. So between the two tools, it makes it super easy to monitor a class set of iPads. So again, group time is over. So I'm going to go back to JAMF, and you can see I'm constantly switching back and forth. I'm going to end my lesson. By the way, if the timer does expire before you release the restrictions, everything stays in place. This is just a reminder. There is a little bit of a lag where it will clear itself after a determined time. But if I would let this go for 13 minutes, the students can keep on working. But usually once they stop, then it's when it resets everything. But they do have a tendency to clear. But if it does run out of time, it will hold the restrictions in place. So you don't have to feel that it's kind of releasing it the moment it expires. So again, I'm going to come up to the top, hit the 3 dots, clear restrictions, clear limitations. That's going to send the student iPad back to normal. And then lastly, I'm going to come over here and I get leave class, clear restrictions and leave. I don't get any kind of reporting here, but you will notice that in Apple Classroom, I can then come back over here, and I also, if I wanted to send this student to another app, while the restriction is in place in JAMF, whatever apps I set in JAMF also apply in Apple Classroom. So I would not have the full list of apps to send the student to, only what I give them in that lesson. So you can see again, they work hand in hand. I'm going to come over here and press the 3 dots, and then I'm going to hit end class. I get my report again, which I could then grab a screenshot. When I'm done, I hit done, and everything is back out to the 2 home screens. I hope you guys find these videos useful. As you can see, JAMF Teacher and Apple Classroom, I think, are very beneficial in the classroom, and I really think they can help manage the class set of iPads. And as always, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out.